Thank you again for giving me the opportunity to talk about MyHDStory. This is an online research platform that we've developed at the Huntington Study Group, which is the academic group that runs many of the Huntington's clinical trials in North America and other places in the world. And this platform has really been developed to connect people who are affected by HD with clinical researchers, so the people who run clinical trials, medical product developers, so the sponsors, many of whom are supporting this effort today, and also regulators like the FDA. And we plan to do this by collecting patient-reported outcomes, which means in your own words, what's the experience of living with HD like? How do you experience HD and how does it impact you? So how did an organization like HSG, which again is an academic coalition of people who do HD research trials, how did they get to MyHDStory? We did a report sponsored by the Griffin Foundation back in 2018, looked at quality of care for Huntington's disease in the US. And I would imagine that many of you who are watching today participated. We had over 900 participants in this online effort who reported on gaps in care and what they needed in terms of HD care. So one of the key recommendations that came from this was to have a patient platform where we could engage patients to learn more about HD directly from the HD community, and also a place for sponsors and other researchers to ask very specific questions of the HD population in a really quick way, rather than the cumbersome way of having people come into centers and fill out surveys there. Some of this is based on a terrific book. If any of you have an interest in communication at medical visits and what happens when you're communicating with your doctor, Daniel Offrey wrote this great book, What Patients Say, What Doctors Hear, about how clinicians often don't listen to patients, about how as clinicians, we translate things into our language, which doesn't necessarily reflect how you prioritize things at patients and what you want to be treated. Going back in time, so right around the turn of the last century, William Osler, one of the giants in medicine, really said it very concisely: listen to your patient, they are telling you the diagnosis. Really, we need to listen more to what our patients want, and we need to think more about how to make research focused on patient wants and needs, not necessarily on what we as experts feel are the important priorities. One of the great ways to do this is using patients' own words. And I'll show you a feature of MyHDStory where you can answer questions in your own words. You can dictate the answers so that you don't have to type and worry about a keyboard, and it really makes communication much easier. So the design of our platform is to have an online way to collect data about the experience of living with HD from all of you. This will be centralized data collection, so everything will go into one centralized platform, and it will all be self-report. So you won't have a doctor writing things down and making judgments about where you are in the disease or what a particular symptom means. It's all your own report of your disease stage and symptoms. This is our steering committee, and you probably recognize many names from the HD world on this. I will just mention neurotargeting. These are our wonderful platform developers who've given us a really lovely, simple platform that I think you'll all really like. So we thought this was a terrific idea a couple years ago when we started developing it, and then COVID hit and we realized that it was a brilliant idea because everything needs to be available remotely, not only to address COVID in the short term, but also the long-term challenges that we've discussed today of how to get to centers and travel that's involved and all of the inconvenience and stress of going into a center for research.
Dr. Anderson, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. For some reason, the slides are not advancing. We were trying to fix them on our end.
Okay.
Maybe if we...
Is this better?
There we go.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. So we've learned quite a bit in partnering with Fox Insights, who does a huge online platform like this in Parkinson's disease, which means that we were really able to accelerate the development of our platform very quickly. So you all know that we have many unmet needs in the HD community in research and in care. Certainly, it's hard to get good reporting. So for those of you who've been in a clinical trial, that you sign up, you take the medications, you come into your trial site once every 2 or 3 months, and they do some measurements, but in between, lots of things happen. So during a clinical trial, it's really hard to get good information in real time about what's happening with the participant. If you have online reporting, obviously, a lot of this can be much more of a relationship and much more continuous data. As I've mentioned a couple times, treatment priorities for researchers and patients don't always align. So patients may value treatments of certain things. For example, we talked a bit about treating cognitive symptoms today. It may be that drug developers are not so focused on those targets because they're not the easiest targets, or because the animal models don't contribute so much, but we really need to be able to bring to the forefront the things that are most important to patients and their families. And then the inability to quickly share new knowledge and data. So really having a centralized place where we can get information from patients and then push new things out as new developments are made. So for MyHDStory, we are going to start this month actually with a pilot study called Making HD Voices Heard. This pilot study will be the first on the platform, we hope, of many subsequent studies. And this first study is only going to be open to people who have an HD diagnosis. So we ask that you have an HD diagnosis from a doctor to participate in this first study. We will have subsequent studies that will be open to other people from the HD community, including people at risk, people who are caregivers, and others. This is really going to test the feasibility of our assessments. So whether people who have an HD diagnosis like the platform, how easy they find it to use, what they think about our questions. It'll be a limited number of participants, so we plan to have it open for 2 to 3 months and enroll up to 600 subjects during that time. And then we'll close it down, learn from what's been on the platform, and then hopefully roll out the next phases of the platform. So it'll be what's called cross-sectional, means we're collecting data at one point in time. In the future, we do plan to collect data over time so we can get a look at how symptoms and priorities change for people during the course of HD. So we'll be doing a limited set of assessments. We'll give the same assessments to all participants. And we have a very important user satisfaction survey at the end that will really be the key thing to find out what people like and what people don't like about our platform. The things you'll be asked to do if you join this study will be some basic information about yourself and demographics. So where you live, what's your zip code, are you married, do you have children? There'll be a self-report functional capacity. So these will be questions about how do you do in terms of your own housework? Are you able to take care of yourself? Are you working? Those types of questions. And then there are some questions that you answer in your own words. I'll show you an example of those in a minute. They're called patient report of problems. And there'll be questions about HD, about your overall health, so other conditions in HD, and then about your well-being, so how you're doing day to day. And then we'll have some other exploratory questions. So this is an example of the HD prop. This is condensed into one screen. So you won't see this much information all on one screen. I know this is a lot, but this gives you an idea of what the prop question will ask you. So first you'll be asked to say in your own words, what are your bothersome problems? Then you'll be asked to say, what are the consequences? So for example, if I say the most bothersome problem for me is that I have difficulty swallowing, what's the consequence? I'm losing weight because I can't swallow. Sometimes I cough and choke. And then how does it affect your function? So we ask about severity, and then we ask about what makes it better and what makes it worse. So I might say eating more slowly makes it better. If I'm nervous and I have to eat fast to get to an appointment, then I'm more likely to choke, and that makes it worse. We hope this platform will be a great experience for all of you. We want it to be easy and engaging for you to use. It gives an opportunity for people to participate from the comfort of their own homes. So you can do this on your computer, you can do it on your phone, you can do it on someone else's device if you don't have a tablet or a computer or phone accessible to you. Anyone who has an HD diagnosis can do this study as long as they're able to walk on their own and take care of their own needs. And you can have help with the studies. If you start the study and you feel that it's difficult for you to get the login information or it's difficult to use the software, you can have a friend or family member help you enter data for the study also. And again, this really gives you an opportunity to answer in your own words rather than having us as experts put words in for you. So this gives you an idea of what the platform will look like. There's a video that explains what the platform involves, what the questions are like, and then there will be a list of surveys that you can go through and complete. We ask you to try to do it in one sitting, but if you're not able to, it will save your work and you can come back another time to complete the study. This shows you what the requirements for the study are again. So you have to be 18 or older with an HD diagnosis and reside in the US and be able to understand English. You can have someone assist you with the data input if you want, or you can do it on your own. You have to have access to some kind of a device, a computer, mobile device. And then we're looking for people who have an HD diagnosis but are able to walk on their own and manage some of their personal needs. This is an example of the really neat feature that we have. So if you click on the little microphone, you can dictate an answer. Then you click on the microphone to stop and go on to the next question. So if you're like me and you're not a great typist, you can dictate answers. You can go in and edit. So if you say something and then you want to change it, you can actually click and edit your answer before you submit it also. And then we do have help functions throughout the study. So we have general instructions that you can print out and have next to you. You can print out your consent form for the study because it's a research study and have a record of that. And then we do have help questions. And if you click on any of these in the study, they will give you a lot of help. And then we also have live help functions through the Huntington Study Group too. So really in thinking about this platform, we want it to be something that is good for all stakeholders involved. So in terms of sponsors for clinical trials, we want them to use it to drive new treatments, to have faster treatment development, to get new insights into what patients experience day to day with HD, and to think about their strategies for new treatments that they bring to the market. And then we want them to connect with patients and other providers and researchers to develop things that are really more patient-centered. For patients and families, we want this to really improve your access to studies so that you can do this from your own home, to connect you with the research community so they understand what you're experiencing. Again, the remote participation we think will be a great feature for people who aren't currently engaged in research, and then to make it a very personalized experience in your own words. For the advocacy groups like Help for HD, we hope it will help you locate more people to benefit from all of the services that you provide. We hope it will help to support the mission overall, inform the strategy, and then have better communication with the people that you serve. And then finally, for researchers, we hope it will make it much easier for you to find subjects for studies, improve retention because people can be more engaged during studies, inform strategy for new studies, locate participants more quickly so we can enroll these trials fast and get results fast on new medications, and leverage assessment tools so that if you have questions about a new tool for a study, a new survey, you can get answers very quickly. So again, this study is really meant as a mechanism for all of us to work together on MyHDStory. So in terms of progress, I'm very happy to report that we're going to launch at the end of this month. So we will we'll have information available through Help for HD and other advocacy groups and how you can participate. And again, we hope that the study is going to inform longitudinal studies that follow people over time and really get the HD patient voice out there and in front of sponsors and regulators like the FDA, and share this information with the whole community. Thank you again for having me today, and I look forward to coming back in the future to tell you more about all the data that we collect from the platform.